Hey, brother. What if I told you that the problems and challenges that you're facing in your life right now are your greatest teachers? What if I told you that the very things that you're trying to avoid are your greatest opportunities to learn and grow and build the fortitude and resilience and wisdom necessary to handle anything that life throws at you? Yeah, I know. It's kind of counterintuitive when we spend much of our lives trying to avoid pain and find pleasure and comfort. But the truth is, sometimes the very things that we're trying to avoid are the very lessons that we need to learn to grow in strength and love and wisdom. And the only way is through. We have to literally walk through the fire. We have to face our demons head on. And sometimes we are forged in that fire. That's where we get our strength from. My name is Ed Heegan. I'm a former New York City firefighter and a mindfulness, meditation, and breathwork coach. And I teach people how to manage stress and find inner peace by understanding their emotions and learning how to regulate their nervous system. And we start to recognize that the challenges in our lives are beautiful opportunities for growth. We can change our relationship with stress. We can start to see stress as an opportunity to be a sign or a signal that can help us to turn inward and focus more on how we're reacting and responding to the stress in our lives, rather than allowing the external circumstances to control our emotions. And oftentimes when we're feeling pain or we have challenges in our lives, we want to avoid them. And so what do? We numb, we distract ourselves. For me, I tried to pour booze on it for years, and I guess that worked until it didn't. But the reality is, the more that we try to avoid our pain, the more that we try to ignore what's going on in our hearts, the more that it manifests itself in unhealthy ways, usually as unhealthy habits and patterns of addiction. And people can be addicted to anything. They can be addicted to not just alcohol and drugs, but we can be addicted to food, to work, to making money, to being perfect, to being in perfect health. We can be addicted to so many things that can just help us to avoid having to confront the truth of what's going on in our hearts. And so oftentimes when we're feeling discord, discontent, anxiety, depression, anything that makes us feel uncomfortable, we look to try to change external circumstances. We want to think that if I can just rearrange my outside world and I can fix my relationship, or I can make more money, or I can stop that person from doing this or that then I'll finally be happy. When I finally get the promotion, when I finally get the girl, when I finally get the money, when I finally get that status, I'll finally feel happy and satisfied and content. But the truth is, a lot of the times when we try to manipulate and force the outside world to bend to our will, we actually create more suffering. Because the reality, as we may already know, is that on the top of the list of things that we cannot control in life, it's other people and the way that they feel or the things that they do. And so sometimes we have to learn to accept what's going on the outside instead of trying to force things to change or to force other people to bend to our will. Because we oftentimes try to rearrange the outside world thinking that it's going to affect the inner world. But it's just not true. And how do we know this? Well, we can just look around at other people. We can simply look at, let's say you're out with people and something happens that they don't like. Maybe the food that they ordered didn't come out cooked the right temperature, or it didn't come with cheese. Or maybe they're planning a day out and it's raining and they're upset that it's raining on their special day or whatever it is. You know, a lot of other people could be in that situation and be completely unbothered. Well, my food was a little overcooked, or, it's raining out, no big deal. But other people would throw a tantrum, and they would feel like it was the end of the world, that the weather didn't cooperate, or this person didn't do that, or they think that if they can just manipulate the outside world, that it'll somehow calm the fears and the anxiety that they have. When in reality, if you clearly see that situations don't affect everybody the same way, it becomes so obvious that the negative feelings, the negative responses, the negative reactions that we have, they're within us. They're not outside of us. They're inside of us. And so when we start to recognize that other people don't make us feel a certain way, other people are not responsible for how we feel, we start to take our power back. Because if we don't take full responsibility and accountability for how we feel, we're always going to be at the mercy and enslaved by external circumstances. We're always going to require that other people or external circumstances bend to our will in order for us to be happy. And that makes our happiness or our peace inside, it makes it conditional based upon variables that we have no control over whatsoever. So if you're noticing that you're feeling stress from something outside, a better way to consider responding is to recognize what's going on. Stop and just pause and give yourself a moment to sense what your reaction is. And your reaction is conditioned by how you grew up, how you were taught. So if you're in a situation where someone makes a certain remark or a quick, they say something that offends you or upsets you, or maybe it's even just a look or a tone, or a situation where you feel like you were slighted or disrespected, you can see that that reaction might come from something in your past, where you've been conditioned that if someone speaks to you this way, or if someone speaks to you in a certain tone, that you perceive that as a threat. And so if you start to develop the awareness around these things, you start to recognize, oh wait, that's my reaction. That is a reaction that is coming because I'm feeling like I'm being disrespected, or I feel like I'm not being included, or I'm feeling like that person is not treating me with the kindness that I want and deserve. And so when we start to really recognize that the reactions we're having are not really based upon what's going on outside, but really come from this collection of programming that we've experienced since the time that we're very young, we can start to just develop a little more mindfulness around this. And when we start to become aware, instead of just reacting in a knee-jerk way, the way that we have been for years, we can choose a healthy response. But in order for us to really develop that awareness, it's so important that we take the time to practice it. Just like we go to the gym and work out for strength or stamina or endurance or flexibility, we can train our minds to be more resilient and strong in the face of challenge and adversity. And it's a good opportunity now to even just drop in to connect with the present moment and become more aware of ourselves. So this is an opportunity to recognize that when we connect with our body, when we connect with the present moment, it's an opportunity for us to turn that monkey mind off, because the monkey mind is always just jumping all over the place, and it can wreak havoc in our lives. And it's usually stressing out about something that happened yesterday or something that might happen tomorrow. And so if we can just use the power of our breath, we can tap into the present moment, and we can connect with our body, the present moment, our breath, each other, and if you're in the woods, nature, which is why I love to be in the woods, or in nature in general. And the power of our breath can really help us to ground ourselves and relax ourselves if we're feeling overwhelmed. So exhale all the air out of your lungs. Inhale slowly through the nose and fill your belly. Hold, knowing that you're safe. 3, 2, 1. And slowly release any stress or tension. Inhale peace and groundedness through your nose. Hold. 4, 3, 2, 1. Let go of any tightness or tension. Inhale slowly through the nose. Fill your belly. Hold, knowing you are safe, whole, and complete, just as you are. And slowly release. And simply notice if you can recognize that you just feel slightly more present, slightly more aware. The only perceptions that we have while in this flesh suit, being born into this body on this world as human beings, is that we take in information through the 5 senses. What we see, hear, taste, touch, and smell. That's all we have. That's our entire perception of the outside world. And so when we start to recognize that this physical body is like a computer that gets programmed, we can reprogram ourselves. Because there's a good chance the people that programmed us when we were younger probably did not have the skills and tools to teach us how to regulate our emotions properly. And if you did, you're one of the lucky ones. But I grew up in an era where if I was upset, if I wanted to, if I was afraid, if I wanted to cry, I would be kind of threatened with like, I'll give you something to cry about, or I would be teased or made fun of for being, a crybaby or weak or less than. So especially as a young man, it became really clear to me that it did not feel safe to express any kind of emotions that would make me feel vulnerable or weak. And so when I became a firefighter and I was dealing with trauma on a regular basis, it would build up inside of me. I did not know how to express it or release it. And so I developed some really unhealthy habits that almost destroyed me. And since then, I've been working with men from the military, veterans, and first responder community to help them to understand how we get stuck in these states of fight or flight, when we get stuck in response mode. And when we recognize that we're holding on to things that don't belong to us, it's a beautiful opportunity for us to release things and let go of the things that no longer belong to us. But we have to practice the awareness. We have to do the work. We have to do the reps. And so it requires discipline. And you don't have to walk this path alone if you're not really sure how to do it. You can always send me a DM or sign up for a free discovery call at edwoodstock.com. And when we start to realize that we have more power by understanding our emotions, it gives us a sense of strength and resilience where we realize that we can build that inner fortitude so we can handle the challenges of life. But it requires that we practice it. It requires that if we can keep ourselves grounded and we can keep ourselves regulated, then any words that we speak, any decisions that we make, any relationships that we have are going to benefit from the fact that we are coming and making decisions and interacting with other people from a relaxed, grounded place. And this just simply allows us to have healthy relationships with ourselves and the outside world. And so it's so important that we recognize that committing to a disciplined practice of showing up for yourself and practicing the self-care necessary is the best way that we can honor the people in our lives. So a lot of people hear the term like self-love or self-care and they think that it's selfish, when the truth is practicing self-care and self-love is the most selfless thing you can do. If we can keep ourselves emotionally grounded and regulated, and when we can live our lives from a place of that conviction, knowing that we can handle anything life throws at us, then we're able to show up in the lives of other people. Whether you're in a life of service, whoever you show up and serve at work, whether it's your family or your friends, That's the gift that we give to the people that we love. That is the gift that we give to the people that we serve. We get to give them the gift of showing up as the best version of ourselves. We get to give them the gift of working on living up to our potential so that in their time of need, if we show up to help them, we can show up in a way that we can help guide them through the difficult times. Because when we are able to honor the truth of what we're experiencing, and when we can respond to ourselves with love and compassion, then we're able to give that gift to other people. If we don't have love and compassion and respect and kindness for ourselves, how can we possibly give it to someone else? How can we give something that we simply do not have? So it's so important that we give these things to ourselves, because I don't know about you guys, but no one's coming to save you. No one's coming into your life and is going to just automatically fill you with the love, compassion, kindness, and respect that you deserve. That's up to you. That's an inside job. If you want to share those things with the people that you love, you have to give it to yourself. Unfortunately, as men, it's our responsibility to recognize that when we're suffering and we're going through difficult times in life, no one is coming to save us. That we are the ones we've been waiting for. You are the one you've been waiting for. And when you give yourself that gift of forgiveness, of kindness, of compassion, of self-love, your ability to serve others and to have healthy connections with other people in your life is going to change dramatically. And so I just want to offer this as an opportunity to recognize that although we live in a world where men are often taught to just be tough and man up and suck it up, that shit don't work. It's not cool to try to guilt and shame people into just pretending like what they're experiencing doesn't exist. You know, we're full human beings. We have a full spectrum of emotions. We have sadness, grief, sorrow, pain, fear, confusion. We have joy, hope, love, optimism, excitement, adventure. We have so many beautiful things. But if we want to be fully integrated human beings, if we want to be real, true men, it requires that we honor the truth of who we are. So if we're sad, we can grieve and cry. If we are afraid, we can still do our job. We can still go into a burning building or cut someone out of a car and make that rescue, even if we're afraid. We can be afraid and still confront the things that we're afraid of. And so recognizing that we don't allow our emotions to control us, that's true emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is not pretending we don't have emotions. It's saying to ourselves, I feel this, but I'm not going to allow it to control me. I am not going to react negatively and frantically. I am going to choose a healthy response. And that reminds me of a book named Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And it's a book that I recommend everybody read, essential reading for life. And Viktor Frankl was a concentration camp survivor. And I won't go into the whole story of the book, but essentially what he came to realize is that you can take away everything from a man. You can take away his freedom, his country, his clothes, his family, his way of life, his religion, everything. You can take everything away from a man. But one of the last fundamental freedoms that you cannot take away from a person is their ability to choose how they want to respond to life in any given set of circumstances. And through that power of recognizing the power of how we want to respond to life, we take back control. We have this internal understanding that we get to choose how to respond to life. Life is not happening to us, that life is happening for us. And how we choose to perceive those events and internalize them will affect how the outside world responds to us as well. And so it also brings us to this understanding that if we're expecting the outside world to just change and bend to our will by trying to manipulate people and situations, we're going to be exhausted. It's going to completely drain us and wipe us out. and burn us out. And so we have to realize that we can focus inward. We can regulate our emotions. We can recognize our patterns and how we are reacting to life and choose a healthier response. Because if we want to experience joy and peace, we have to change from within first. This would be the equivalent of someone saying, well, I'm going to look in this mirror and I'm not going to move until this person in the mirror smiles. Well, you're going to be waiting there for a really long time. But if you're looking in that mirror and you change from within, then the outside reflection changes also. And you simply realize that the ways in which we choose to maintain our inner peace and stay grounded and relaxed and calm and treat our body and ourselves with love and compassion, that's going to have a resounding effect. And it's going to change the way that we perceive and interact with the outside world. And we do have more power than we realize, but sometimes we don't learn the lessons. And so what happens is we continue to have to repeat the grade and do that lesson over and over and over. And the lesson I'm talking about is when we're experiencing pain and challenges in our lives, when we try to avoid them, repress them, suppress them, numb and distract them, we are not really honoring the truth of what this life experience is about, because those emotions and those challenges are trying to teach us something. These negative things that are happening, these so-called problems in our lives, are really opportunities to show us where we're stuck. They're opportunities for us to learn about how we can become more resilient and how we can learn about ourselves and each other. And so I just want to offer that as an opportunity to recognize that instead of avoiding the things that we feel are painful or the things that we just don't want to face, lean into it. Get curious. Start to explore it a little bit. Put down the phone, the distraction, the bottle, the smoke, whatever it is, put it down for a little bit and just sit with it. And we can even sit with it really simply and just ask ourselves, what am I feeling? Where am I feeling it? Maybe I'm feeling some anger in my throat, in my chest. Maybe I'm feeling some sadness or fear or worry in my belly. And if we can just simply pay attention to what's going on in our body, if we can simply sense some tension, some tightness, some nervousness, we can take a deep breath in, bring some loving kindness to that space, and let it go. Exhale, releasing that tension and stress. And just like we don't get overweight or skinny overnight, and we don't get healthy by, doing one rep in the gym, we're not going to change ourselves unless we do this consistently. So get into the habit of checking in with yourself, doing the reps, and over the course of time, we'll build this muscle memory. In the same way that we can build a fit body, we can build a fit mind. And we can become more resilient. We can become more capable of handling any of the challenges that life throws at us. So I hope this helps. I hope that if this message resonates with you, or you think you know somebody that might benefit from its message, please share it, like, subscribe, and help this channel grow, because I didn't come up with this information. I went through my own struggles and my own darkness, and I've had lots of great teachers that shared wisdom with me, wisdom that's been around for thousands of years. And so this channel is really about sharing the wisdom about how I learned to handle life's challenges, how I learned to heal from some of the things that I've been holding on to for years and even decades, and how I learned to free myself from being weighed down by my past. So if you're feeling stuck and you're feeling overwhelmed, and you're not really sure how to manage and mitigate some of those emotions, or if it's spilling out over into the rest of your life and creating problems in your relationships or with your health, then it's time to recognize that no one is coming to save you. It is up to you to take responsibility and accountability for your health and your well-being. And if you need some guidance, feel free to reach out to me and book a discovery call at edwoodstock.com, or down here in the description you can find a link. And I hope that you enjoyed this little walk through the woods, a little deep breathing, and I hope that you realize that you're not alone with this, brother. There's a lot of people out there, most people, that are going through difficult things. And they oftentimes just don't know how to talk to each other about it. And so we can oftentimes feel alone and confused with our suffering. But you're not alone. I've been there. I've gone through it. I'm going through it now myself. We're always going through it. The question is, how are we handling it? And are we reacting negatively, or are we choosing a healthy response to life? So I hope you choose a healthy response to life. I hope you take care of yourself and each other.